Embedded Writing Evaluation. This is a review of the Cambridge Write and Improve computer software for ESL learners using two texts that I have written. The program was designed for ESL writers. The learners type or paste text into a submission box and receive a holistic score for placement on the CEFR scale and word level feedback using symbols and pop-up explanations of them, or sentence level feedback using color-coded highlighting. Advantages of the software. It is fast. Text is analyzed and feedback returned in less than a minute. It is very scalable. Whether the computer program is rating 1 or 100 essays, it takes the same amount of time, relatively speaking. In other words, it could rate a few or many texts simultaneously in the same amount of time. Both of these qualities shorten the turnaround time for learners to receive feedback, creating more revision time and opportunities, and maintaining salience of the feedback. Uniformity of response. The learners receive the same kind of feedback using symbols and highlighting, targeted on the same kinds of errors, words, and sentences. It can serve as a first pass diagnostic for class or individual follow-up. It can also identify what learners need to attend to, such as word choice, decisions, clarity of expression, and being on topic. Disadvantages of the software. Its accuracy. The computer is limited by its programming in deciding what is correct or not. This could be unfamiliarity with correct forms or incorrect interpretation, what I refer to as false negatives. Also, incorrect forms can be overlooked, which I refer to as false positives. Its vagueness. By highlighting parts of the text with different colors, the error is identified, but what is problematic is not explained, like what kind of error it is, nor are suggestions made to improve the text. This is analogous to putting a question mark in the margin next to a section of a test, as would a human reviewer would do. Lack of opportunities to negotiate meaning. The learner is not provided the chance to clarify the feedback, as would be possible with a teacher or peer. All these interfere with the proper interpretation of the feedback, which could lead to frustration, distrust of the feedback, and potentially just ignoring the feedback. Here's a screenshot of the feedback coding, symbols for words, and highlighting for sentences. At the bottom is the scores of the CEFR explained. This correlates to this area right here. Text 1 is about study habits, and as you can see, the feedback is on the right screen. Words are given a symbol that are problematic for the computer program. This would be a false positive, as setting, making, and another setting are coded as suspicious words, whereas they are actually a proper use of gerunds. The highlighting, the pink is could maybe be improved, and the orange is needs improvement. The program doesn't say exactly why these sentences are problematic and would require the learner to actually go through the sentence and try to figure out what the computer is calling an error. By highlighting the sentences, the entire sentence, it really makes the learner have to figure out where and why the computer identifies it as being an error. In the second text, as you can see, the first sentence is marked with a suspicious word, any. And the following sentence is also coded as needs improvement. is another use of a verb form that I guess the computer does not recognize. Logistical is coded as wrong word, whereas it appears to me at least that it is actually an okay use of a word. As well as accommodate, down below, it's a suspicious word is the way it's coded. One would have to, I guess, experiment with different words to see if that would make it acceptable to the computer. Again, if you can see, large sections of the text are highlighted, which could be discouraging to a learner, and I don't know how helpful it would actually be, as the errors are really not explained. And this is the second half of text 2, and again you can see that a lot of the text is color-coded as either needing improvement or could maybe need improvement. Ways this feedback would be helpful. It does raise awareness for the learner. The feedback points out errors and notifies a learner of what they should be attending to, such as proper word choice or clarity of expression. It does provide a starting place for correction. It points out areas where more feedback from teacher, peers, or self can be sought, and problems that warrant further investigation or discussion. The feedback cycle is quicker, allowing more iterations of revision and making it more likely that the learner will remember the content and context of the feedback, in a way helping to strengthen noticing and internalizing the feedback. It can complement other sources of feedback, leveraging their inherent differences in focus. Similarities to teacher feedback. The targets. Teachers tend to focus on form-related issues such as mechanics and sentence-level grammar. These surface or local errors are easier to spot, making them also easier to program a computer to do. Delivery. Teachers also can decide whether to give focused or unfocused, direct or indirect feedback. A computer can be limited in the areas in which it gives feedback or designed to address particular types of error. Teachers use codes, symbols, colors, highlighting, as well as metalinguistic feedback, such as writing the word plural or past tense by an error. Authority. As a computer program, it is likely to be perceived as having more authority than a peer. It is a supposed language expert in the eyes of a learner, so the feedback must be accurate and helpful. Like teacher feedback, it can also be inaccurate, vague, unquestioned, and ignored. The differences from teacher feedback. There is little opportunity to negotiate meaning or clarify feedback. A student probably cannot ask the computer, "What do you mean by?" It is much faster than a human teacher. It's uniform. Teachers vary in linguistic knowledge and what each teacher tends to focus on, how they give the feedback, and their focus and directness. As of yet, computers are not very capable of addressing global comprehension-threatening errors. Programming limits what kind of errors can be identified, and it is difficult to individualize. The computer does not have pre-knowledge of student or class common or frequent errors, nor does it have any background knowledge which may influence how feedback is given, what the student needs help on, or what a student is capable of understanding. What would I do differently as a teacher? I would be more focused, either giving feedback on a limited number of surface errors or focusing on those things a computer is not good at, such as organization, content, cohesion, or idea development. I could provide a rubric and explain the necessary elements or qualities a text would need to be considered good writing. I would tailor the feedback to the individual student, taking into consideration what they need to attend to specifically and what they are capable of understanding, by trying to assess their particular needs. I would offer clarification if necessary so that any confusion or misunderstanding can be immediately addressed before motivation becomes affected or errors become fossilized. The impact of differences on noticing and learning. Automated writing evaluation limits what is or should be noticed or attended to by the very nature of a computer having to be programmed to identify a particular error or type. As such, the noticing is directed to what a computer is capable of addressing. And once a gap is identified, how it is framed without a suggestion as a model of target-like, an explanation or recourse to clarification lessens the potential effectiveness of the feedback. A computer is limited in being flexible and adaptable to what a learner needs to notice or capable of noticing. Every student is different, but a computer gives the same type of feedback, targets, and delivery to every text. Accuracy issues, or accounting for syntactic complexity and semantic ambiguity, may cause a learner to attend to the wrong errors and does not consider error gravity. The more serious and comprehension errors are not identified. There are more opportunities to notice with AWE, but an emphasis on form rather than meaning. What aspects of language and writing would AWE push learners to focus on? It would likely cause learners to focus on surface grammar-related errors on the sentence level, such as word choice, mechanics, usage, and maybe clarity of expression, but not things like organization or sufficiency of evidence. It would not likely push learners to effectively write more clearly, or to develop ideas in a logical, organized, and coherent manner. It might cause learners to write with less complexity, such as short, choppy sentences, to avoid writing being perceived as unclear. It would also push learners to focus on only what they can understand of the feedback. If a learner does not understand the nature of the error, they are likely not going to be able to repair it. Here are copies of the text written out without feedback given.